Lately, we've been hearing a lot about the potential future plans for Star Wars in the movies and on Disney Plus. Well, I've got an absolutely crazy theory as to how all of this stuff Disney is planning could fit together and set up an amazing story for after Episode 9. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel, and a special shout out to the dads today. It is Father's Day at the day of this video's release. Hopefully your barbecue goes better than the father-son barbecue that Anakin and Luke had. Okay, so this is one of those ultra nerdy theories that I've put forward in the past and I'll put forward again in the future. And I fully acknowledge that the odds of Lucasfilm doing 1,000% what I'm about to describe is very unlikely. They're unlikely to do it exactly the way I am going to talk about it here. However, one of the reasons I'm so passionate about bringing this theory up is because if Lucasfilm does anything even remotely close to what I am about to describe to you, I think it would potentially solve a lot of the problems that Star Wars has, and it would set us up for an amazing future for the Star Wars movies and live action content in general. And this all has to do with the time period after Episode 9. If they do what I'm going to describe, it will set that time period up as like a very hyped and anticipated thing. And as it currently stands, a lot of fans are actually very skeptical and questioning of how Lucasfilm will make Star Wars content after Episode 9, after the Skywalkers and after Palpatine. How will they make content after that and still have Star Wars fans feel connected and invested with it? How's it going to be Star Wars if we're moving past the Skywalkers and the Palpatines? It's basically a hard thing for fans to imagine, at least as far as like how they're going to be invested in this time period now that the Skywalkers are gone, now that basically this big thing that was Star Wars is over. It comes down to three main questions about the time period and the stories that will be told after Episode 9. Number one, who are the villains? Number two, who are the heroes? And then number three, why should I care about either one of those groups, being the heroes and the villains? And the theory I'm about to explain would actually answer all three of those questions and solve all of those problems perfectly. So the basic version of the theory is this. I believe that something will be set up in the High Republic stories, including the possible movies that take place in the High Republic. That thing will then show up again in the Filoni Verse, or all of the live action Disney Plus stuff that Dave Filoni is currently developing. And after that time period, that same thing will actually have a huge role in the stories that take place after Episode 9. So that's the baseline for the theory, but now let me kind of explain why I am thinking this. Well, the one thing that links all of these time periods together and mostly serves as evidence for this potentially happening is the unknown regions. And let's start with the High Republic. We know that in the High Republic, the Jedi Crusaders, or the exploring Jedi, are actually moving across the galaxy, and they are literally discovering at the time unknown parts of the galaxies. And so we think that after the High Republic, the known galaxy and the unknown regions will be established by the Jedi in the High Republic. Basically, they will go out and forge and figure out the boundaries of the galaxy, what planets are inhabitable, and they will then form that map for the Republic. The whole idea of the galaxy and the unknown regions is likely to be established, and that line will be drawn by the Jedi of the High Republic. Now, we don't know a whole lot about what will happen in the live-action Filoni Verse that Star Wars and Lucasfilm is creating over on Disney Plus, but a lot of us believe that the unknown regions will also play a big role in that, and there's two main reasons why. Number one, the search for Ezra Bridger seems to be a big catalyst for the adventures that are going to start happening with Thrawn, with Ezra, with Sabine, with Ahsoka, with Rex, with Boba, with all of these shows that we think are going to be interconnected in the Filoni Verse. And at the end of Star Wars Rebels, when Ezra and Thrawn leave with the Purrgil, we can assume they are going somewhere out into the unknown regions. Otherwise, it would have been a lot easier for people to find them. And as far as we know, nobody knows where they are at. And the idea of going to find them, it sort of implies that they will be going into the unknown regions to find them. And another reason we believe this is because the Chiss themselves actually exist out in the unknown regions. The Chiss are, of course, the blue-skinned, red-eyed aliens that Grand Admiral Thrawn hails from, okay? Those are his people. Well, we already know that they exist in the unknown regions and that there have been a lot of in-canon stories with regards to Thrawn, mostly in the novels, that take place in the unknown regions. So, if the Purrgil take them somewhere and then Thrawn's just with Ezra Bridger in the ship, the Chimera, with some Imperial stuff, it would stand to reason he would just go find people out in the unknown regions. And let us not forget that the unknown regions plays a large role in Disney's sequel trilogy. The First Order and Snoke come from the unknown regions, and we later find out that this is all because this was organized and orchestrated by Palpatine in the unknown regions on Exegol. And Episode 9 proves that the Sith had some kind of a presence out in the unknown regions that the Jedi and the galaxy at large was not aware of. Now, if we go back to the High Republic, you'll know if you've been watching the channel for any amount of time that I have this theory that there's going to be a big secret that takes place during the High Republic that Yoda will then keep from the galaxy and most of the Jedi. That a battle with an evil force, either dark side users, Sith demons, or even corrupted Jedi, that some kind of a conflict is going to take place during the High Republic, but then Yoda and some of the other higher ranking Jedi are going to decide to keep that conflict a secret, to hide that conflict from the other Jedi and from the galaxy at large. Now, this is mostly just so that they can have battles with the dark side and with Sith potentially that don't break the canon, because in canon, most of the Jedi in the galaxy believed that the Sith had been eliminated over 1,000 years ago and they never really resurfaced. This is echoed throughout the prequels, and so the only way that the Jedi of the High Republic can have interactions with Sith and not break the canon is if that is all kept a secret. In fact, one of the original scoops about the High Republic was that it's going to have several different kinds of villains, and that basically the final boss of this whole big story was actually going to be something like Sith gods, like some ancient dark side Sith gods. And in the artwork for the High Republic, we already see some Abeloth-like figures teased and some corruption of Jedi shown in some of the art. And my current hypothesis is that whatever that dark side enemy is, the Sith or the Sith gods or the Abeloth-like figures, whatever they end up being, that thing that the Jedi fight during the High Republic, they're going to not be defeated, but driven out of the unknown regions, or driven out of the known galaxy, rather. And so then, once they are out of there, the Jedi themselves decide, hey, we're not going to tell other Jedi about this because it's only going to cause problems and corrupt the Jedi further. We don't want to tell the Republic about this because it'll just cause, pandemonium and fear and a lot of things. It works against what we're working for, so we're going to keep that a secret. But what I think will happen is that enemy will actually resurface and come back into the unknown regions, sort of threatening the known galaxy in Dave Filoni's Filoni Verse with Thrawn, Ezra, Sabine, Ahsoka, etc., etc. And this is mostly because it just makes the most sense as to how to have all of those shows tie together. We heard a lot in the newest scoops about this, that it's going to be like a Game of Thrones type thing or like an MCU type thing, where all of these shows are going to connect into some bigger story. Well, one thing that can connect them all would be that outside threat, whether this is the Rakatan Empire, a version of the Yuuzhan Vong, the Grisk, or something else like that. There's been a lot of rumors that that will be something going on in the Rebels sequel animated show, and possibly have a big to-do with all of the stuff that Dave Filoni is developing over on Disney+. And so why would this be so important? Why would this solve a lot of the problems and help to tie everything together? Well, let's go back to those first three questions that I introduced, which are who are the villains, who are the heroes, and why should I care about either, right? That's the big issue with Star Wars past the Skywalker saga, because there's been so much of an investment with those characters from the Skywalker saga and the connections that the different characters have. That's part of the magic there. Well, if Disney took the route I'm I'm about to explain, it would actually answer all three of those questions, including why people should care, which is probably the most important one. So who would be the villains? Well, the villains would be these dark side Sith gods, or this force that's very powerful with the dark side that the Jedi of the High Republic originally purged from the known galaxy. Okay, so that would be who the villains are. Whatever that crazy dark force was connecting the High Republic to Dave Filoni's stuff, even to Episode 9 and to the time period afterward. So the next question is, who would be the heroes? Well, we've already got a bunch of good ones. Ahsoka, Ezra Bridger, Boba Fett, Rex, Bo-Katan, Sabine, and Grand Admiral Thrawn. A bunch of characters that we already love. Plus, it's likely that we'll get some new Jedi. Perhaps Ezra will take an apprentice. Perhaps Ahsoka will take an apprentice. Perhaps Jason Sendula will actually be a Force user and have a big role to play here. But essentially, you can set up a whole bunch of heroes and also have a bunch of characters that we already love be the hero. And the last and most important question would be, why should fans care about either group? Well, this is the magic of this theory. This is where it all ties together, because if you set up a villain that has connections to Yoda, connections to the ancient Jedi Order, and then that same villain has connections to Ahsoka and Ezra and Thrawn, then you have created a way by which people can relate to those villains and reasons to care about the villains. And it's literally the same thing with the heroes. Why would we care about those heroes? Well, number one, because there are a bunch of heroes that we already have attachment to with characters like Ahsoka, Ezra, and Thrawn, but also because they have had connections to Yoda, to the prequel Jedi, possibly Mace Windu, and other things. You see, we are actually solving the problem of how to make Star Wars fans feel connected and invested to a story that has nothing to do with the Skywalkers. Well, the way you do that is set up a sort of overarching long burn or slow burn story that has taken place throughout Star Wars history, and then you create connective tissue to characters we love and the things that are important for this story. And where this could all lead to is in a post-Episode 9 world. We have this new threat coming in, and you have a new set of heroes and a new set of villains, and you do movies after Episode 9, and all of a sudden, it's not this whole new thing that doesn't feel connected to the rest of Star Wars. No, rather, it's actually really connected to the rest of Star Wars based on a whole bunch of new stuff that has gotten us more invested in it. This would quite frankly be so damn smart for Lucasfilm to do. It would solve a lot of their problems and give us a whole new reason to be really invested in what's coming on Disney Plus and what's coming in the High Republic, which would just make sense. I mean, that's what you want to do. It feels very MCU to me, and I know they're getting some feedback from people like Feige and stuff, so I wouldn't be surprised if something like this happens. But man, this is my theory. This is where my head is at, so I definitely want to know what you think about this. Let me know in the comment section below. And now let's shout out Kathy Fleming. Yes, indeed, Dan and Dave signed that big deal with Netflix. So shout out to you, Kathy, and now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know, what is the name of the Chiss commander that Eli Vanto goes to serve under after Thrawn sends him to the Chiss Higher Ascendancy? What was the name of that commander that was the boss to Eli Vanto in the Chiss Higher Ascendancy? Answer that question in the comment section below. If you absolutely need more nerdy content in your life, click or tap over there to watch some more of our content, or come on by our live streaming channel where we live stream all the time. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.